I bring with me this evening condolences from your brothers and sisters in Australia, where I was a few weeks ago. I bring with me this evening condolences and greetings from your South African brothers and sisters with whom I was not long ago. I bring you greetings from your brothers and sisters in Ethiopia, where I keynoted African Liberation Day on behalf of the Ethiopian government. I bring you revolutionary greetings from your brothers and sisters in the United Kingdom, the British Africans, and the Manchester Africans, and the Luton and the Bristol Africans. I bring you revolutionary greetings from your brothers and sisters in Guadeloupe, in Barbados, and the Bahamas, and Jamaica, where I was for the Maroon Festival. Brothers and sisters, I commend all of you on coming back home, making it your residence, making it your place of business, or even just making it your place of leisure. I'm glad you made the connection. A lot of people don't know the history of diaspora relations with the mother continent. Some people think this repatriation thing is 20 years old. Some people think it's 50 years old, but it goes all the way back to the 1700s. We've been coming back home since we were first taken away from home. Paul Cuffey sailed Africans himself from Massachusetts to Sierra Leone at least 3 different times. Bishop Henry McNeil Turner, the first black man to say God was black, brought Africans from America to Africa. Although the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey was never allowed into Africa, many Pan-Africanists of the Garvey movement found themselves back home. There was a major repatriation movement from Arkansas. Rabbi J. Arnold Ford of the Black Hebrews, who once led Garvey's musical program for the UNIA, he came to Ethiopia with many Africans from the diaspora. So this is not a new thing, but it is a good thing that we are intensifying the struggle at this time in our search home. Now for my American African brothers and sisters, and my South American African brothers and sisters, and my Central American African brothers and sisters, my Caribbean African brothers and sisters, my Canadian African brothers and sisters. It is important that when we come back to Africa, we come as Africans. Yeah. It is important that you leave all your Europeanisms in the States. Leave all your Europeanisms in the islands. Leave all your Europeanisms in Brazil and Costa Rica and Suriname. Don't bring them with you. We must come as Africans. And we need to understand that our responsibility is a great one. Because as Pan-Africanists, we are statesmen and stateswomen. That means our job is to help build the bonds across the diaspora. Our job is to weaponize our citizenship and our African consciousness to bring our people together. In order to do that, we must crush the triplets of destruction. And those are envy, ego, and individualism. Envy, jealous of what another African can do because they can do it better than you. Understand something. All of us have unique gifts. God did not make us all the same. Don't hate on somebody who can do it better. Find your gift and give yourself to you. No need for envy. No need for jealousy. And then we have to crush that paralyzing evil known as the ego. I refer to the ego as the European god of oppression that is inside of all African people. Through slavery and colonization, the Caucasian took his consciousness and put it in us. And I don't care how many trips you've taken to Africa. I don't care how long you've been here. I don't care how many books you read, how long your locks, how many African wardrobes you got. All of us, myself included, have that seed of white supremacy buried somewhere deep within your mind. And if you think you have freed yourself of it, you're the most enslaved African in the room. You were hurt to be conscious of the internal parasite of white supremacy. We have to rid ourselves of the internal parasite of white supremacy. And most of all, we have to declare war on the Caucasian that lives not in Ghana, not in America, not in Europe, but the Caucasian that lives inside of you. You can take the African out of colonization, but until the African takes the colonization out of himself, he's not free. You can take the American African, or the Central and South American African, the Caribbean African, you can take them out of slavery. But until they take the slavery out of themselves, we will never be free. Our struggle now is one for the reclamation of African consciousness. We need a psychological reconstruction movement where we become Africans again. Because so many of us are part-time Europeans. We have to become full-time Africans. My beautiful African sisters, as you come home to Africa, and I know it's a process, but try to leave some of those European beauty standards back home. My brothers, as you come to Africa, please don't you show up with a snow bunny. It makes no sense for you to come to Ghana with a Caucasian. There are these beautiful black single women we have here. If you don't like butter almond, we got butter pecan. If you don't like sweet brown sugar, we got light brown sugar. If you don't like African butterscotch, we got chocolate fudge. If you don't like pina colada, we got African watermelon. Whatever it is you do, our women come in every flavor. Let's not dishonor our ancestors by dedicating our life and our wealth to women of another community. As Pan-Africanists, we believe that being African comes first. Africa comes before you are an Ashanti. Being African comes before you are of the great kingdom of the God people. Being African comes before you are of the Iwe nation. Being African comes before you are American African, or Jamaican African, or Nigerian African. We are African people first. One African. One African. Brothers and sisters, Osagefo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who gave to us a free and independent, liberated Ghana on March the 6th, 1957. Dr. Nkrumah, who came to Philadelphia and learned his Pan-Africanism from Marcus Garvey. In fact, myself and Dr. Nkrumah pretty much spent time in the same house of Garvey in North Philadelphia. Kwame Nkrumah said, I am not African because I was born in Africa. I am African because Africa was born in me. As we come home from across the world, let us not come just to relax. Let us not come just to make money. Let us not come just to vacation. As we stand here tonight, most African people in the world, the Kingdom of Africa, and the entire diaspora do not have food security. Most African people in the world do not have medical security. And many African people in the world don't even have land security. So we got work to do. And one of the things we got made better because the Caribbean African came home. Africa must be made better because the South American African, the Canadian African, the Central American African, the European African, the Australian African came home. The Right Excellent Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said, "No one can destroy the African but the African himself." Mr. Garvey said that if black men and women are not careful, we will drink in all the poison of Western civilization and we will die from the effects of it. Mr. Garvey said, we don't struggle because we African, we struggle because we African and disorganized. Let us get organized. Let us get organized. The job of the diaspora African, the job of the repatriated African is to bridge our people around the world. You know, life expectancy in Ghana is about 66 years old. Osajako, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah joined the ancestors at about 62 years old. So in 50 years, the life expectancy in Ghana hasn't grown but a few years. That means we got work to do. All these nurses we have in America, all these nurses we have in Africa, why can't we have a Pan-African nursing convention to talk about improving the quality of life? As I travel the world, wherever I go, there's 5 things I see everywhere. I don't care if I'm in Ghana, I don't care if I'm in Nigeria, I don't care if I'm in Malawi, I don't care if I'm in Gambia, I don't care if I'm in London, I don't care if I'm in Philly, I don't care if I'm in Brooklyn, I don't care if I'm in Jamaica, I don't care if I'm in Guadeloupe. What are the 5 constants of African people? Number 1, white Jesus. There is no psychological freedom for African people as long as your deity looks like your enemy. Until your deity no longer looks like your enemy, you are free. Nothing wrong with being a Christian. Mr. Garvey was a Christian. Nothing wrong with being a Muslim. Ahmed Sekou Touré of Guinea was a Muslim. But the images of your deities must look like yourself. And everywhere in the world, black people are still raising their children on a diet of Caucasian divinities. We have to change that. Number 2, too many single black women. Brothers, we got to get married. Whether you get married today or get married next year, you have to get married because the black family is the foundation of black power. There is no black power without the black family. You must marry our women. Number 3. I can count on one hand how many truly revolutionary Pan-Africanist school systems for our children I have found in the world. I remember being in an African country once, and I won't call the name, and they greeted Dr. Umar before I spoke to the students in the elementary school. And these beautiful African children started singing, "God Bless the Queen." And I remember being in the Caribbean island before I spoke to a group of Caribbean African babies, and again they started singing some old slave song of the colonizer. Brothers and sisters, our children still don't know who they are. Even in Africa, they don't know who they are. So let us begin to build schools that our children need. Let's teach each other. We don't come to Africa to lead, because there's so much Africa needs to teach us. We've been going for 405 years. It's been a while. Let us learn as much as we can. Let us help as much as we can, because Africa can help us restore our cultural memory. and we can help Africa restore the political struggle. Merge the best of both worlds, because that's the way the Creator intended it. I believe that the Almighty God must have been a Pan-Africanist. Because if God was not a Pan-Africanist, why did he allow us to be sin all over the world? We were sin all over the world, only to come back home and make it whole again, brothers and sisters. The next thing I find as I travel Africa, in the entire world, mass incarceration of black men. Everywhere the prisons, I spoke in prisons in Africa, I spoke in prisons in the Caribbean, black men in jail. How do we fix that problem? We have to build institutions. Some of you have some great business ideas. You have to grow them, expand them. You have to give brothers and sisters right here in Ghana, American African and Guyanese African. You have to give them Ghanaian African. You have to give them a license to operate your business. We don't come to Africa to be black capitalists. We come to Africa to be Pan-Africanists. Number five, and probably the most debilitating thing I see when I travel the African world. Every country, every continent, every island, every state in America, every province in Canada, every section of the United Kingdom, there's not one single African economy on earth that is under the control of African people. I need us to meditate on that. Not a single economy on earth controlled by African people, not even in Africa. But now that we are here from the diaspora, we will join in equally with our Ghanaian African brothers and sisters to build economy and take back all that the Chinese has taken from us. Take back all that the Arabs, the Lebanese have taken from us. Take back all that the East Indians have taken from us. You know, Bill Gates is in Africa trying to convince the African Union to force our farmers all across the continent to only buy seed from Monsanto. They don't want African people eating real food. They only want African people eating genetically modified organisms. We have to fight that. And that means we need to have a black farmers conference where we bring the black farmers from America and the black farmers from the Caribbean and the black farmers from Europe and the black farmers from Central and South America together to come up with a food integrity program. Alone we can do nothing. Together we can do it all. Osajabo said, forward, ever. Backward, never. The Honorable Moses Messiah Garvey said, the greatest weapon used against the Negro is this organization. Brothers and sisters, we got to work. You got to work. The only people who should be resting is our elders because they made it to age 65 and all we need them to do is give us our wisdom. They've struggled enough. Our Ghanaian African elders, our American African elders, all of our diasporic African elders, they've struggled. Let them rest, but we still need you elders for wisdom. And I think that the American African community needs to create a council of elders. Because as I travel through Ghana, as I travel through Nigeria, as I travel through Liberia, I hear about the petty differences that pop up between American Africans who brought some of that slave master with you to Ghana. And so we need the elders to help us navigate these internal conflicts because we can't afford to fall apart over petty differences. We can't afford to click up. No more light skin, dark skin. No more Muslim versus Christian. No more American African versus continental African. One people, one family, one race, one nation, destiny. I'm going to leave you with this. The CIA is watching us. On March the 17th of 1978, the United States State Department issued a National Security Memorandum, number 46. When you go home tonight, I want you to Google NSSM 46. NSSM 46 from the U.S. State Department ordered the CIA to create hostility and division between continental Africans and American Africans. The CIA was ordered by the president to use the media, use the radio, use the newspaper to make Black Africa think Black America hates them, and to make Black America think that Black Africa hates you. So we need to understand these divisions we did not create. They were introduced by the white power structure, but we will destroy them because we are one people. I close with a quote. And before I close with this quote, I want to give you my cell number now. Take your phone out. Whether you be a continental African or an American African or a Caribbean African or a European African or a South Central American African, Canadian or Australian African, South Pacific African, I want you to text Dr. Umar and let me know what your expertise is. Dr. Umar, I'm a midwife. Dr. Umar, I'm an entrepreneurial business startup expert. Dr. Umar, I'm a nurse, I'm an engineer, I'm a business owner, I do real estate, I've been in Africa for 20 years. Whatever it is you do, let me know, because if I'm lucky enough to get my citizenship, brothers and sisters, we're going to have some work to do in Africa. Do you understand? Do me a favor. If you are a bunny hopper, do not message me at all. Phone number, I will repeat it twice. +1 215 989 9858. I repeat it once more. +1 215 989 9858. There was a black man by the name of Booker T. Washington. He was born in West Virginia. His mother was raped by the slave master, so she gave birth to Booker T. Booker T wanted a college education, so he walked all the way to Hampton Institute. He couldn't afford the tuition when he got to Hampton Institute, so he asked for an opportunity to clean his way through college. He was given that. After he graduated, the president of Hampton got a phone call from a black community in Tuskegee, Alabama, looking for a black man who could come and teach him how to work, how to build, how to create industry. Booker T took the job. When he got to Tuskegee, there was no school. He had to use an old barn, an old farm, an old storefront. And when the first class of students showed up in Tuskegee, they asked him, where's our lecture hall? Where's the cafeteria? Where is our dormitory? And Booker T. Washington said, you're standing on it. He made the students roll up their sleeves, and the students of Tuskegee made their own bricks, built their own buildings, made their own clothes, cooked their own food. He inspired Marcus Garvey to build the largest movement in modern history. Booker T. Washington said, I need a science teacher. He heard of a black man named Dr. George Washington Carver. So he entices Dr. Carver to come to Tuskegee from Iowa. When Dr. Carver gets to Tuskegee, he asked George Booker T the same thing the students did. Where's my lecture hall? Where's my cafeteria? Where's my farm? And Booker T. Washington, one son of an enslaved African looking at the son of another enslaved African, and Booker T told Carver, all I have is what you see. Dr. George Washington Carver made no excuses. He went to the trash dump of Tuskegee. And out of the garbage, he took plastic. Out of the garbage, he took aluminum. Out of the garbage, he took tin. He took wood. And out of the garbage of college students, that black man gave us more than 400 products from a sweet potato. Out of the garbage of college students, that black man gave us hundreds hundreds of products from the soybean. Out of the garbage of college students, that black man gave us hundreds of products from the field. My message is real simple. How is it our ancestors didn't have half of what we got and did it all? And we got 4 times as much as what they did and ain't done much. The war is psychological, brothers and sisters. Some people don't know Booker T. Washington was a Pan-Africanist. He helped finance the first Pan-African conference. That's why Garvey came to meet with him, not just to build a Tuskegee in Jamaica, but because of the Pan-Africanism at Tuskegee. Booker T. Washington had the International Conference on the Negro, where he brought Africans from West Africa to Tuskegee and taught them how to build industry. We've been Pan-Africanism and repatriating for a long time, but let us continue to do the work. My ancestor Frederick Douglass said, and my family was stolen from Africa in 1701. A black man named Bailey. He was taken to Maryland. He married a black woman by the name of Selah. My 13-year-old daughter has the name. In 1745, they had Grandma Jenny. 1774, they had Grandma Betsy. Grandma Betsy was born a slave, but she married a free black man, Grandpa Isaac. They had 12 children. One daughter was named Harriet. Another daughter was named Young Betsy, my 5 times great-grandmother. These 2 sisters were raped by the white man who owned our family. And in February of 1818, Aunt Harriet gave birth to the greatest black leader to ever walk American soil. His name was Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey. At the age of 20, Cousin Fred ran away from Baltimore, and he changed his name from Fred Bailey to Fred Douglass. And in 1819, his half-brother and first cousin and my 4 times great-grandfather, Stephen Henry Bailey, was born. And Grandpa Stephen married Grandma Caroline on the plantation. They had my 3 times great-grandfather, George Washington Bailey, who became the first black public school teacher in Dayton, Maryland. And when the Civil War started, my grandfather Stephen and George, they fought in the U.S. Colored Troops of Maryland. My cousins Lewis and Charles, the sons of Frederick, they fought in the 54th Massachusetts Colored Infantry. When the Civil War was over, Grandpa George married Grandma Manny. They had Grandma Caroline. She moved to Philadelphia. She had Grandma Vivian. Grandma Vivian married a Spanish-speaking Cuban immigrant. My grandfather Cicero, my great-grandfather Cicero, who I met on his deathbed. And they had my grandma Ida, who we buried 6 years ago. She met and married James Johnson. They had my father Jamal Johnson. He met and married my mother Barbara in North Philadelphia. And on August the 21st, I was born. Frederick Douglass said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found the exact measure of injustice that will be used against them. And he said, these injustices will continue until they are resisted with words, with blows, or with both. But power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Frederick said, for 20 years I prayed on my knees to God for freedom. But the good Lord gave me no freedom until I got up off my knees and started praying with my feet. He said, you want respect for white people when all you get is pity. A man with self-respect don't need no pity. Frederick Douglass said, it's better to raise strong children than to repair broken men. The Honorable Marcus Garvey said, without confidence in yourself, you are twice defeated in the race of life. But with confidence you have won, even before you have started. Marcus Garvey was once asked, are you an African or are you a Jamaican? Are you an African or are you a Jamaican? And the leader of the largest black organization in modern history, who inspired Kwame Nkrumah, who inspired Nnamdi Azikiwe, who inspired Amilcar Cabral, Thomas Sankara, Robert Sobukwe. He looked up, he said, you asked me, am I African or am I Jamaican? I tell you simply this, I would never ever give up a continent for an island. I am an African. Long live the Iron Free.
video is brought to you by We Belong in Africa. Please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring content. Thanks for watching.